Hi there, I'm X King. Welcome back to From the Archive. Today we're talking about Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping. Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping is the brainchild of The Lonely Island. For those of you who don't know, The Lonely Island is a comedy trio consisting of Andy Samberg, Jorma Taccone, and Akiva Schaffer. They got their name from the apartment that they were all living in back when they first started out. They first started out in 2000, but didn't really see any success until 2005 when they premiered on Saturday Night Live. They found huge success on the online market, especially with their comedy songs. So it was inevitable that they would release a movie. Not this one, though. The first movie they actually released was called Hot Rod back in 2007. It wasn't highly financially successful, but critics and audiences really liked it. Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping was released on June 3rd, 2016. Just like Hot Rod, it was not financially successful. This might have to do with the fact that it was going up against some really big blockbusters at the time, like TMNT Out of Shadows and X-Men Apocalypse. So yeah, a film like this wasn't going to be that great financially. However, just like Hot Rod, it found success with audiences and critics alike. So what do I think about it? Well, let's start with the story. Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping centers around a pop artist, former boy bander turned solo artist, named Connor For Real, played by Samberg. He was formerly a member of a boy band called the Style Boys, which consisted of Terrence, played by Taccone, and Owen, played by Schaffer. However, following a incident, they had a falling out and broke up, causing Connor to start his solo career. His first album was hugely successful, and this led him to create his second album. However, once the second album starts to become less than successful and tour sales start to plummet, he does everything in his power to stay relevant. This film, like I said earlier, is a mockumentary style film. This means we have actual real-life people doing interviews about the fictional character and what they're doing. This led to some of the best laughs in the movie. Whenever we focused on these interviews, focusing on how over the top this guy is and how these people are basically giving him compliments even though what he's doing is absolutely terrible, is really funny and really enjoyable. What doesn't work is when we zoomed in on our main character and what he was going through, because he's not that funny. I didn't find anything Samberg was doing with this character, well, belly laugh worthy. There was a few moments where I got some decent chuckles, but just not enough for me to say that the film deserved to focus on this character. This might have to do with the fact that the story by itself is kind of generic. We have a stuck-up character who needs to be redeemed at the end of the movie. So, guess what happens? Within the first few minutes of the film, you know where it's gonna go, and it doesn't take any twists or turns to get there. However, this still could have worked. I really feel that way because I loved how this film poked fun at the pop music industry. I really like when movies poke fun at the absolute absurdity of the industry overall. And I did enjoy it when it was really focused on doing that. However, I do feel like there are times when it just forgets that's what it's trying to do. And like I said, without the story being compelling, that's a downside. Also, I don't think this film's going to age well. Mainly due to the fact that the music industry is always a changing industry, so what's the pop industry is like now isn't going to be what it's like a few years down the road. This movie came out in 2016, and I already feel like some of its jokes are a little dated. Anyway, the other problem is the characters. Our main characters are just not interesting, especially Connor For Real. He's a huge jerk, and I have no reason to root for him. I know that's the point, but I still have to want to see him redeemed in the end, and I just don't. There was no character I really latched onto. And that's a huge problem with the film. That being said, all the performances are amazing. The Lonely Island are doing their top game as these three main characters, and I really liked what they did with these characters. But by far the standouts have to be the individual interviews and the cameo appearances by other actors. I really enjoyed the cameo appearance that Maya Rudolph has as the representative of the appliance company that is supporting Connor through his tour. I like Sarah Silverman as Connor's publicist. I believe those two have some of the best scenes in the movie. And all the interviews are just perfect. Mind you, these are people playing themselves just in a humorous manner, and I really enjoyed that. The visuals. Well, this film is supposed to look like a documentary, and it does. So I have very little complaints. There are a few moments where it breaks documentary style for a more cinematic feel, but it didn't bother me, and it doesn't affect my score. It's just noticeable. The music is part of the problem I had when reviewing this film. So, most of the songs in this movie are bad. But they're supposed to be bad. So, it's really hard to judge them on their own. So, I guess the question is, are the songs funny? And for me, they really weren't. In fact, a couple of them were downright insulting to me at times. I really didn't get into any of the songs, and that's a shame because they're earworms, so you want to like some part of these songs, even if they're just for comedy purposes. So for me, the music is just not there, but to be fair, this might have to be due to my taste in comedy. I've never really been exposed to the Lonely Island's music up until now. I watched their Jack Sparrow music video of Michael Bolton a few years back, but I didn't really know who they were at the time. So maybe people who are fans of Lonely Island will have a different opinion and will actually enjoy these songs. But for me, they just didn't work. So at the end of the day, is this film a watch, a stream, or is it an avoid altogether? Well, it's definitely not an avoid altogether. As for is this film a buy or not? Well, let's talk about the bonus features. The bonus features include the lead scene, several gag reels, and I do mean several, and several outtakes, which has to do with the fact that this film is mainly the type of comedy that would have a ton of outtakes. You really shouldn't be surprised that this Blu-ray is chock full of them. The only real special feature I feel like this film has is the commentary by the Lonely Island, which frustrated me when I watched it, mainly due to the fact that I couldn't tell what part of they were saying was fact and what part of it was fiction. They were really just making jokes about their own commentary and just felt like they were making up stuff. So when they actually did drop real facts, I couldn't tell if they were being serious or not. So at the end of the day, I gotta say this film is a stream. It's not bad enough to be an avoid altogether. I do feel like a lot of people will see this film and get a lot out of it. It's not a buy because, well, there's no reason to buy this one. The special features are relatively a joke. They're not even all that funny. I don't really think there's any reason to buy them. So at the end of the day, that's what I think about Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. And next time, I'll be taking a look at Change Up. See you then.